Every time I try to talk about something else other than The Last of Us Part 2, Neil Druckmann opens his mouth. So, Druckmann appeared on Kinda Funny Gamers with Troy Baker, and he pretty much explains exactly how he fucked up this franchise. It's amazing because you can see that he's really annoyed that his big brain story flopped with gamers. He's lived so much in his head and surrounded himself by people who either kissed his ass or were too afraid to speak up that no one told him that he's not as clever as he thinks he is. It's like he made feminism the game. You get to play it and you're like, this is shit. Yeah, that's pretty much always true. Enjoy. So in the live stream, Druckmann admits to a lot of things, the biggest being that he personally contacted YouTube to have them remove any videos showing the leaked footage. This was a huge contention when people's videos started getting struck and folks started getting hit with DMCA strikes. The claim from Naughty Dog, which they apparently told to Angry Joe, was that nobody from Naughty Dog was involved. This was all something coming from Sony or Musso TNT Limited, which was obviously bullshit. The leaks were out and people were getting DMCA strikes on news sites, Twitter, and YouTube. There's no way that was all Sony's little shell company. Someone from Naughty Dog, probably Druckmann himself, had to be involved in that, and he admits that.
It was one of the worst days of my life when that leak happened, because it's like I saw it happening in real time. Like I saw when it hit YouTube, and we're just all panicking, texting each other for them to take it down. There's a lag, so it takes like an hour to take it down. Sure. And it had like hundreds, maybe 1,000 views before it got all taken down.
And there you have it, folks. Neil Druckmann admitted on a live stream to flagging videos showing the leaked footage. So all the shit that happened to my channel, Ryan Kennel, Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers, Mr. H Reviews, Ash from Heel vs. Babyface, and everybody else, all of our channels were being fucked with because Druckmann himself begged YouTube to pull down content. Now in fairness, it sounds like Druckmann targeted channels that played the leaked videos, so it may not be the case that he specifically targeted all our channels because none of us showed the videos. But he probably is the reason the channels got struck, and that's because of how YouTube's copyright claim policy works. YouTube allows owners to upload content they claim they own, image, audio, video files, and those are used by YouTube's algorithm to track whenever someone else uploads those files, and then slaps a copyright claim on it. YouTube will then say that the video was manually claimed, but that's not true. No human actually looked at the video. That's the algorithm. A human just uploaded the files. This is why people were getting claims within seconds of the video's processing, and how Musso TNT Limited was able to flag videos that were already flagged by Sony. They both uploaded the same content to claim. So what happened to me, as Ryan, and Mr. H probably comes from that. But that doesn't explain what happened to Jeremy because, unlike the rest of us, he didn't show any videos or images. He only talked about the leaks during the live stream, and it was pulled and his channel received a DMCA strike. There's no way that happens without Naughty Dog, Sony, or Druckmann himself telling YouTube to have their algorithm check for certain phrases people use, which is a clear violation of the Copyright Act and fair use. The other option is that someone watched Jeremy's live stream and flagged it. Those are really the only two options, and both look bad. The weird part here is that Druckmann had no reason to admit this. He's already taking heat for the game. Admitting that he was false flagging videos isn't going to help his case, but there you have it. It was obvious that someone from Sony or Naughty Dog was colluding with YouTube to pull down any videos about the leaks, and here's Druckmann admitting the shit. So, Neil, just in case you see this, just know I will never buy a single thing you're involved in ever again. And I encourage everyone watching or listening to do the same. Don't give this man your money because this is how he behaves. And we're gonna see, it's much worse than that. He says this.
And then you just sit there and you're like, your fucking heart sinks. And you're like, it's out there. It's only a matter of time before it blows up. And you're just waiting. And it's like a few hours later, it's everywhere.
Yeah, that's kind of how the internet works, Neil. This is why you flagging videos didn't make any sense. Once it's out there, it's out. You can try to pull all the videos you want. There's no way to stop people from sharing it. Actually, the more you tried to stop it, the worse it got because people talked about how you were trying to remove everything. Trying to cover it up brought more attention to it.
And you're starting to get hate on every social media you're on. And soon that turns into death threats and anti-Semitic remarks and like just craziness I could have never anticipated.
Oh, pobrecita. Estarás bien. No te preocupas. Honestly, there's no reason for people to send you death threats or racist comments, but don't act like you didn't know people would be pissed. You admit that you knew this would happen.
I knew people would get upset at a character they love dying. I never thought it would reach this kind of hate. I don't know how to describe it even. Frustration? I'm not sure.
Why would you assume that? Did you not see how people reacted to The Last Jedi? You had plenty of time to see this coming. People have waited for 7 years to see Joel again. You take a beloved character we waited for forever to see and have him killed in a brutal fashion in the first 3 hours of the game by someone he rescues multiple times. I have astigmatism in both eyes. I'm damn near blind and I could see that shit coming. You had to know this would be the reaction. There's no way you couldn't, and you admit this later on in the live stream.
One is like we saw, okay, the scene works. On one level, it's like it's like it did what it meant to do. It's like now we have to wait until they see the rest of it to see if the rest of it works.
So the scene was meant to get a visceral, emotional reaction from gamers, one of pure anger, sadness, and hatred, and you got that. But now you're complaining because gamers reacted the way you wanted? That doesn't make any sense. Obviously, they would be pissed at Abby, at Naughty Dog, and at you. You admit this is what you wanted, so what's the problem? You knew they'd be angry. What else did you think would happen? And then he says,
right, we've never shied away from the fact that we said there's going to be fans of the first game that don't like this game. And this is the reason why. Because we killed Joel in this fashion. So we knew that going in.
Then why are you bitching? If you knew people would hate the game, not just Abby, not just you, but literally hate the game and not want to play it anymore, if you knew this going in, why are you bitching about it? This is a serious question, so if you see this video, leave a comment explaining why you have a problem with people reacting exactly how you knew they would react. I have another question though. If you knew people would hate the game if you killed Joel in this manner, why do it? Why not rewrite the scene so Joel's death is less infuriating? Why do it this way knowing half the gamers wouldn't like it? Was it the shock value? Was it a lack of better ideas? Did you really think it was so cool that even people who hated it would just let it go?
The thing that was hard to see is then people kind of like dug their heels in the sand and took this position, be like, I already hate this game. No amount of context is going to change it for me.
Context? Context. Dude, you killed off a beloved character in the most gruesome, pointless way possible. You're over here talking about, what about the context? It doesn't matter what the context is. Here, since you're having so much trouble wrapping your head around this, imagine this. The gamers are Abby, and Joel is Abby's dad. Now you get it? Abby doesn't give a flying fuck why Joel killed her father. It doesn't matter what his reasons were. It doesn't matter what the context is. He killed her father. End of discussion. This is the same thing. People love Joel. They see him as a flawed father figure, and you murder him in a brutal way for really no good reason narratively. It doesn't matter why Abby does it because we're not invested in her. We don't know the character. We don't care about the character. We care about Joel, and you killed him. You can't try to get us to care about her after the fact. It doesn't work that way. Not in fiction and not in real life. What you did was the equivalent of having someone rape a child and then try to explain why they did it. I don't care. I don't care what in life got them to that point. Once you've shown them doing something so horrific, you're never going to get understanding from other people. We're just not built that way. If you want people to know the context, then you should have shown it to begin with. You should have started the game by having gamers play as Abby, have her meet Joel and Tommy, have Tommy stupidly tell her their names, and then on the way back to her base or their base, have a flashback sequence to Joel in the hospital from the end of the first game. We see everything from Abby's perspective, maybe her trying to avoid getting killed by Joel and then discovering he's killed her father. Then you can have the game center on Abby trying to find out who this man was and then running into people protecting him from her and the Fireflies. Every time she gets close to finding him, someone blocks her way. Over those years, she could train and buff up to be prepared for the fight that's gonna go down. I was on Nerdrotic's live stream a couple of days ago, and Az mentioned the idea of Abby not knowing Joel's name. This could work too. Maybe she doesn't get his name until right before she meets him. Either way works because you're building tension to what happens when she finally confronts Joel. You could even have flashbacks of her father telling her not to resort to violence, so that she's conflicted about what she wants to do to Joel. She wants her revenge, but she also wants to honor her father, and maybe seeing Joel or hearing how he raised Ellie as his daughter is a trigger point for her. Then you could play out the scene exactly how it happens in the game. But now every time she pauses, it gives those moments a new meaning because maybe she's hesitating. Maybe she's reluctant. Maybe she's not gonna do it. And then she does. And maybe the reason Abby kills Joel isn't to hurt him, but to hurt Ellie instead, to make her feel what Abby's felt for years. And this would actually hurt Joel too, with him knowing that his death will cause Ellie so much pain. It doesn't make the scene likable, people are still gonna hate it, but now it makes it understandable. You get why Abby does what she does. You're invested in her, so it's not going to be easy to just outright hate her. On the live stream, I compared this to how I felt about Roland Deschain from the Dark Tower series after he lets Jake die. I instantly hated Roland, and that never left. When I got to the 4th book where you get Roland's backstory, I still hated him. I didn't care about his trauma, I won't spoil it. I didn't care about his guilt over it. I didn't care that he was barely 14 and was manipulated the entire time. Still hated him. When I read the series again, I caught more of Roland's regret and horror over what he did to Jake, which didn't make me stop hating him, but it did give me a better understanding of him, and it made me more willing to feel sympathy for what happened to him as a kid. I both like and despise the character, and that's an excellent example of good storytelling. It's also an example, though, of how powerful having a character do something horrible can be. My view of Roland is completely tainted because of that one act, and I knew next to nothing about Jake. Now imagine doing that to a character I know and love. That's what you did to Joel. But Druckmann says,
and then their ego is getting wrapped in it. And it's like, oh, I could just tell certain people they're never coming back. Like we're not going to get them back.
Saying that my ego's wrapped up in it, as opposed to your ego, with you thinking you can kill off a beloved character on a whim, and gamers will applaud you for it, is probably not the best way to get people back. I'm invested in the character as you want it. Now you're mad and calling me egotistical for not wanting the character to die in such a pointless way? You're damn right I'm never coming back. And if you knew that would happen, why did you do it? Why didn't you at least try to fix it? It's like you went out of your way to do the worst thing you could imagine, and now you're salty because people are actually upset over it. What the fuck did you think would happen? Did you really think you were so smart and so clever that you could murder a beloved character and everyone would praise you for it?
But at some point, and it took a few days, you just realize, okay, the worst happened. The worst way that this game could be presented already happened. Like our worst fear, because we did so much to try to protect the story, right? Including putting fake shots in trailers and swapping skins on characters and recording a different line with Troy.
And you don't think that had an effect on why so many people were pissed? You tricked them into thinking Joel was in the game when he wasn't. You created false advertising and fake trailers to trick people into buying a game you knew they wouldn't buy if they knew what actually happened in the game. It would have been better for you to be tight-lipped about the game, only showing scenes with Ellie and maybe only having voiceovers with Joel, and that could have saved you. But you went so far as to fake cutscenes to dupe people into buying something you knew they wouldn't like, and you have the temerity, the unmitigated gall to whine about it. I think you need to get acquainted with Abby and that 9-iron, or maybe Fat Geralt in a half-open garage door, because somebody needs to knock some fucking sense into you. And I'll wrap up with this comment from Druckmann, where he talks about the point of Abby's story.
Funny, for me, I'm still unpacking stuff about the story. Like, as you say that, I think about Abby and, like, you know, her life's purpose was not to kill Joel. Her life's purpose was ruined by Joel, right? She was part of the Fireflies. They were trying to, like, bring back some order to the world. Now you could argue they've gone about it the wrong way, but that was their motivation. And Joel stole that from her. And she thought by killing Joel, she could bring that back, but it didn't. Actually becoming what Owen is after, as I read, looking for the light of like finally protecting Lev and Yara, that becomes her life purpose. Now she's actually doing something meaningful again, where she thought she couldn't. And she goes on a very similar arc to Joel, which is like a redemption arc of like, can you come back from committing such a horrific act?
No, you can't, because we've seen how pointless her actions were. We've seen how brutal and uncaring she can be. We've seen her character, and it's lacking. There's no remorse for what she's done. No one mentioned anything like that for Abby. She's not sorry for killing Joel. She's not even bothered by it. She's just dealing with the aftermath of what she's done, with people coming after her, and maybe the fact that killing Joel didn't ease her pain. There's no lesson learned from this. She literally gets everything she wants. Az had a really good idea of having Abby be conflicted after killing Joel, realizing that the pain is still there, that killing him didn't solve anything, but instead made things worse for her and the people around her. The rest of the game could then be about her regretting her actions while still trying to stay alive, and then in that final confrontation with Ellie, the roles are reversed. Instead of Ellie sparing Abby, Abby spares Ellie, realizing that she doesn't need to take another life, and shouldn't have taken Joel's. There's your redemption arc. Gamers probably wouldn't forgive her, but at least you could see she was trying to make up for her mistake. But that's not the game you presented. What you presented was a convoluted mess that has the bulk of the interesting stuff happen in flashbacks, characters whose motivations make no sense, characters whose actions make no sense, like Ellie sparing Abby because she sees a flashback of Joel, but having no problem killing hundreds of people to get to Abby, and a story and a plot that has nothing to do with the zombie apocalypse these people are living in. And it's a shame that two random YouTubers shooting the shit on the live stream can come up with a more workable, plausible, emotionally satisfying story off the top of their fucking heads. But someone who's had nearly a decade to write and sculpt this thing to perfection failed in every way imaginable. If I were you, I'd be salty too. But what do I know? I'm just some guy.